We've been told over and over by individuals in the dubbing industry that no, we don't change our localizations for political or social gain, and then looky what happened. Not only was that proven to be the case, but somebody was actually fired for it. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and the lovely complex dub writer went so far as to say that he made the show good, that the original version sucked, and his dub changed it for the better. And then promptly got fired from the project. Discotek Media says they will no longer work with him. Let's get into this article from Niche Gamer. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Yeah, I took about a week off, had some computer issues, but that's all fixed now. We're getting back to daily content. So let's get into this. Lovely complex dub writer. We made it good. This show sucked. Now, I'm going to be upfront with you guys. I've not seen Lovely Complex. It's not an anime that I've had the privilege of watching. I will say it's got pretty good user reviews. When you check Kitsu, it's got an 80% approval rating, and considering it wasn't dubbed until 2024, but it was an anime from 2007, that leads me to believe that actual weebs, otaku, people that watch anime and enjoy anime, loved the original version with the subs only. So let's see what happened here. A freelancing contractor who worked on English dub for Lovely Complex released a post boasting about his contempt for the original show and all the changes they made. And a now deleted private post you can find archive here, which I'll pull up the archive in a moment because it is fascinating. YouTuber Brendan Blabber, Jello Apocalypse, explained his work on the series and his thought process behind the many changes he made to the anime series Lovely Complex and the dub from Sound Cadence Studios. Now, let's take a look at his statement because yes, they have it archived. He has since deleted it. Now, we're not going to go through all this because I just want to show you. Look how massive it is. All of this. I did read through this, mind you. This is how I realized I'm not going to read through it all here. Because all of this is him talking ridiculous shit on the original anime. Like, he was talking about how he and one of the other individuals who were in the localization process loathed it, how getting through it was a slog, how much of a chore it was, how everything, all the problems with it, how problematic it was, how transphobic it was, how misogynist it was, how, much it glorified assault of the sexual nature, and also physical assault as well, mind you, as if these are, big deals in the realms of fiction. It was absolutely amazing to read this. Let's take a little quick excerpt here. It says, okay, so it's quite unprofessional to openly shit talk a property you've worked on in this industry. Linty, which is the one of the individuals that actually worked for Discotek Media, because I want to be clear, this guy was a contractor. He didn't actually work for Discotek Media. Someone else worked for Discotek Media. They decided, I hate this anime, I don't want to dub it, and subcontracted it out to this Jello Apocalypse guy. And so when he says Linty cannot express any opinions as they have an official relationship with Sound Cadence Studios, Discotek, and Toei Animation, I, however, was a freelancing contractor and did not have any of those things. I'm not speaking for Linty anywhere in this post, so what can I say? Who can say what Linty thinks? I'm sure I don't know. They thought that, hey, since I'm not in this realm, since, I don't actually work for the company, since I'm just a subcontractor, I can shit talk all over this property that was, purchased by Toei and purchased from Toei Animation by Discotek. I can say whatever heinous and awful things I want without any repercussions. And then, lo and behold, look what's happened. You got fired, boy. Absolute fired. Because, yeah, just because you don't work for them doesn't mean that you can just go around talking ridiculous trash on a product that they are trying to put out, that they are trying to sell, and to the point where they flat out said they're not going to work with him anymore. But I'll get to Discotek in a moment and what they have to say about the whole situation, because I actually did like their response. I disagree with a little bit of their response, but I thought that I did enjoy it for what it was. But the last thing we're going to read, because again, if you want to read this, it's been archived on the Wayback Machine. But he also said, anyway, all of that is to say, all that as in that wall of text I showed you guys, all that's to say, Linty and I spent a long time on this dub. I'm very proud of the work we did. I think we turned an unremarkable and frustrating 3 out of 10 show into a pretty funny and mostly watchable 7 out of 10. I want to show up what we did. However, I don't really want to recommend that people watch Lovely Complex, in order to see it. So not only is he saying this show is awful, it's a 3 out of 10 show, hey, piss on you, anime fans, and of course the studios and creators that made the original anime that's beloved, again, an 80% approval rating by the Kitsu community, but not only is it so bad, but even our version's not that good, 7 out of 10, so I don't want to recommend that you watch it. That's how bad it is. Tell me, how can you pretend you want to work in the anime industry? How can you pretend that you want to just show your love for this medium and get continued voice work or translation work or whatever it is that you're doing when you're open? Like, no wonder you deleted this. This was an awful move, and it shows, considering, again, you got fired, son. Firstly, Blabber was not the individual hired for the job. Instead, he was contracted by writer and voice actor Marissa Linty to assist them. Sound Cadence CEO Amber Lee Connors sought to dub the show as cheaply as possible, as she's allegedly a fan of the series. So despite their open contempt for the source material, Linty was working as the dub writer for free, and Blabber volunteered to help out. Throughout the post, Blabber attempts to justify his censorship and changes from the source material, citing transphobic tropes and his opinion that the main character, Risa Koizumi, is an actual psychopath and all-over useless freak. Yes, he does in fact say this again in his just diatribe that I did refuse to go through, because you can only read like 14 paragraphs of some wannabe weeb, some tourist to the anime community shitting on an anime for so long before it just gets absolutely insane. I don't want this to be a 30-minute video, because it's not going to be anything we haven't seen these people do before. We know these people hate their job. We know these people hate the community. We know these people are doing this because they don't actually have the skill or the talent to get into politics, or more so, they want to change the way you think. They want to use this very popular medium as a method of changing your political affiliation. So yeah, let's be real. They're tourists and they've got an agenda. We all know that. You don't need to read a 14 paragraph or 20 paragraph or however long it is hate mail to realize that that's what they're doing. The biggest point of contention for the dub writers involves Psycho, a trans woman who's introduced early in the series. Early on, Risa dislikes her, citing some vague preternatural awareness that she's trans. Rather than try and maintain the original script as closely as they could, Blabber and Linty went on cutting things, changing context, and otherwise altering dialogue from the original translation. He even says that you can watch the English dub with subtitles on to listen to our edits in real time. Imagine being so cocky and confident to be like, hey, if you guys want proof that our version's better, watch the subtitles, because the subtitles will show you the original dialogue. Watch that while you listen to what we changed, and you can just see that our version's better. It's more modern, you know? It's not any of that 2007 transphobia or any of that other stuff that just wouldn't fly in the modern era. How absolutely overconfident can you be? Like, it's so maddening to me, but also mind-blowing. You can have that little self-awareness about what fans of the product actually want, the people that were going to buy this. I mean, at this point, I don't even know how this will sell, because clearly, Lovely Complex fans aren't going to buy this. They're not going to want to hear a botched dub for an anime they love. They've already watched it. The anime is from 2007. Clearly, they didn't have an issue watching the Japanese version with the subs. So what incentive is there to buy the dubbed version if it's going to be a complete bastardized version of the anime that they loved? There's even the option to acknowledge the anime is a product of its time, a 2007 anime based off a manga which ran from 2001 to 2007, not to excuse the content, but in order to preserve the series as it was for the fans of the original. Instead, the changes were made by the writers, and even still, they weren't transparent about it, this bragging post notwithstanding. Instead, Blabber exposes what the industry is doing in regards to these changes, which amounts to nothing. In fact, publishers like Discotek Media, Funimation, Crunchyroll are allegedly encouraging localizers to do what they want as long as they don't brag about it, possibly why Blabber hid the post or use certain buzzwords. Now, I don't know if this is true about Discotek Media. We all know this is true about Funimation and Crunchyroll. I've heard nothing but good things about Discotek Media. They seem to be one of the few that do encourage being as close to the original translation as possible, however, acknowledging there are going to be some changes due to the language barrier, which, I mean, that's just common sense. As much as I want as close to original Japanese translation as possible, look, I took 2.5 years of Japanese. I used to be pretty conversational with it. There are some things that just flat out do not translate over. You will just not be able to do. So maybe Discotek Media is in the same group with Funimation and Crunchyroll about how bad their processes are, but most of the anime community that I've spoken with, they don't have a problem with Discotek Media, or at least not near the extent of people like Funimation and Crunchyroll. Translation and localization discourse has taken a turn where the content of what's being removed and changed has been placed at the forefront. In a recent opinion article, we suggested the real issue at play is that changes in censorship are happening unilaterally and without transparency, no matter how well-intentioned they may be. The centerpiece of this post is when Blabber is sarcastically frustrated that their dub is this good, because it feels that anyone who picks up the show and enjoys it will not only do so because of the dub. When discussing his dub in the context of the show, he says, "We made it good, this show sucked." Now, it seems like Discotek Media, they had a response. Let's go ahead and take a look at what their response was before we get into this additional article from Niche Gamer. So we got Justin Sevix here. Our response to some concerns about Lovely Complex. We are aware of the comments made by a contractor that worked on Lovely Complex. The English version was made with supervision and approval of the show's original producers. Dubs commonly punch up comedy and smooth over rough patches so the end product aligns with the show's intended audience and provokes the intended purpose, and there will always be shades of gray when adapting work. And again, this is 100% true. I know a lot of weebs don't want to acknowledge it. Again, as somebody who wants things to be as close to the original source material as possible, I also have to acknowledge this, that there are certain language barriers, certain things that will not translate over. For example, one of the running gags in the show, or maybe not a running gag, but a one-off joke, had to do with a very popular Japanese comedy duo. Well, tell me what English speakers are going to recognize a Japanese comedy duo. So, yes, a line like that would have to be changed. Now, how would you change it? I don't know, maybe you use an Americanized version. You say Laurel and Hardy, or Key and Peele, or Abbott and Costello, something to that effect. But at the end of the day, the change does have to be altered. I remember watching the original Digimon movie back in the day, and Tai says something along the lines of, why don't we call somebody important, like the principal, or Bill Gates, or something. So, that line works. I mean, in context of what's happening in the story, that is clearly a change from the original Japanese joke, but the line still works in and of itself. So yeah, there are going to be changes, but they don't have to be so fundamentally different that they change the context. The context is still there in a lot of these changes, at least a lot of it in the earlier days, and I think that's obviously the right way to go. Anyone that wants a pure one-to-one translation clearly doesn't know how Japanese works, and you will never get that, but that's a-okay. The changes aren't the problem, it's the intent behind the changes, the reasoning for the changes, so on and so forth. Anyway, he goes on to say, anyone expecting exact fealty to the Japanese dialogue should be watching with subtitles, which discotek has always presented with as little alteration as possible when translating from a very different language. We are deeply disappointed at this individual's lack of professional discretion. Call out that lack of professionalism. You love to see it. And will not be working with him in the future. We will continue to work on future products with an eye towards satisfying as many fans as possible. Thank you for your continued support. And I cannot believe that we got that much from Discotek Studios, because let's be honest, most companies, they don't give a damn about the fans. We've made videos like this time and time again, whether it be about Funimation, whether it be about Crunchyroll, or even outside anime, whether it be about Disney, or insert video game company here like Capcom, or Sega, or Konami. They don't care about you, the paying customer, because, well, they're getting their money from elsewhere nowadays. They're getting ESG funds. They're getting told what to do from some higher-ups that want, to supplant your thought processes and what you want out of your media with, images of whatever matters in the social political stories, or social political centers nowadays. It doesn't matter about the stories that you want and care about. However, we want to make sure we hold Discotek Media to their word. We want to see future dubs from them. I would have no problem with them continuing to acquire IPs and do dubs and show that, hey, this was a one-off, this was a rogue contractor, we've already done what we need to do, which is to fire them. I get that a lot of people aren't going to like that he says we're never going to have one-to-one translations, because it's an unfortunate fact. We're not going to. You will never be able to get that just due to the nature of how the Japanese language works. It is very different than English. Again, as somebody who used to be able to conversationally speak it, I can still speak some Japanese, but not near as good as I used to be. The fact of the matter is, I think this is an appropriate response. Now, there might be more information or problems with Discotek Media that I'm not privy to, and if so, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of, these are my opinions. I want to know what yours are, so let me know in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord, and please just subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and I don't know about you guys, but I love seeing this localizer drama. I love seeing them get put in their place, and I love seeing that we can reclaim, slowly but surely, we can reclaim the anime, the localization, and everything we love about Japanese media. Who knows, maybe video games are coming next. But by all means, if you're not a member, become a member for $4.99. You can join the Discord, get in on the nerdy conversation. I also have merch. Use discount code VITALIDOL. If you want a shirt or a mug to rep your favorite Words of Paradise merch, I would love to see it. Tag me in on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon. And remember, it's all here in the nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.